The room froze the instant the glass lifted from the white-clothed table, the soft chime of crystals slicing through laughter like a blade, and a single sentence fell into the air with the weight of a verdict. "Don't touch her glass," Single Dad said coldly. The billionaire stopped mid-sentence. In that breathless pause, chandeliers seemed to dim, the orchestra faltered, and 100 eyes learned what fear really looked like, because protection, quiet, absolute, had just arrived. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that one brave act can change a life, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can find the people who need them. The night had begun as a celebration, the kind where wealth glowed as brightly as the lights above and smiles were practiced like performances. The tables were dressed in linen so white it almost hurt to look at, the glasses polished until reflections multiplied faces into something unreal. At the center sat a woman in a red dress, shoulders tense, fingers tight around the stem of her glass, her eyes wide with the startled realization that the room she had entered willingly was no longer hers. Around her, men in tailored suits leaned in with interest that felt less like admiration and more like ownership. The billionaire, famous for his speeches, his donations, his charm, had been holding court, his voice smooth, his hand drifting too close, his confidence fed by the unspoken rule that no one ever stopped him. Across the room, a man stood who did not belong to this world of silk ties and unearned certainty. He was a single father who worked with his hands and carried tiredness like a badge he never took off. He had come because he had been invited at the last minute, because his daughter's school fundraiser needed faces, because he believed that doing the right thing mattered even when it cost him sleep. He wore a simple shirt that fit his shoulders from years of lifting groceries and bedtime stories, his hair trimmed with no thought of fashion, his eyes steady with a kind of patience learned in hospital waiting rooms and long nights at kitchen tables. He had been watching the woman since she arrived, not because of the dress or the attention she drew, but because he recognized the look she wore. It was the same look his sister had worn once, the same one his daughter wore when she was afraid but didn't want to say it out loud. It was the look of someone realizing too late that the room was unsafe, that politeness was being used against her, that refusal would be punished with laughter. He saw the billionaire's hand reach, heard the cadence of entitlement, and something ancient and immovable rose in him. The words he spoke were not loud, not theatrical, and that was what made them terrifying. The billionaire halted, his practiced rhythm breaking, his smile slipping just enough for the truth to show through. The glass trembled in the woman's hand, then steadied when she felt the presence behind her, not touching, not claiming, simply there. Around them, whispers rippled, and the orchestra found its place again, though the melody felt wrong now, like it was playing at a funeral. What followed was not a confrontation made for headlines, but a slow, devastating unraveling. The billionaire laughed at first, because laughter had always saved him. Then he noticed the silence, the way eyes were no longer admiring but measuring. He noticed the staff watching, the donors shifting, the cameras angled a little closer. The single father did not move, did not posture. He stood with the calm of someone who had learned that anger was a luxury and steadiness was a weapon. The woman breathed again. She set the glass down, her hands no longer shaking, her shoulders lowering as if a weight had been lifted. She did not look at the billionaire. She looked at the man who had spoken, and in her eyes was a gratitude so deep it bordered on grief. She had survived rooms like this before by shrinking, by smiling, by blaming herself. Tonight, for the first time, someone had drawn a line without asking permission. The challenge for the single father did not end there. Security hovered, faces hard, ready to remove the inconvenience that had disrupted the evening. He knew how this story usually went. He knew men like him paid for moments like this with lost jobs, closed doors, quiet blacklists. He thought of his daughter's backpack at home, the way she liked her eggs in the morning, the promise he had made to always come back. Fear tried to take root, but something stronger held. The billionaire attempted to reclaim the room, to speak again, to turn the moment into a joke, but the spell was broken. People remembered things they had ignored, moments they had excused. A few stood, a few clapped, a few left. Power, it turned out, needed silence to survive, and silence had been taken away. As the night moved on, consequences arrived softly, like snow. A sponsor withdrew. A board member asked for a private word. Phones lit up with messages that did not feel friendly. The woman in red left early, not alone, her steps lighter, her head high. The single father stayed just long enough to ensure she reached the door, then he slipped back into the margins where he had always lived. Change did not come all at once. The next days were heavy. There were calls that went unanswered, shifts that were cut, a meeting where eyes avoided his. But there were also messages from strangers who had seen the clip, who had felt seen themselves. There was a note slipped under his door from a mother who said thank you. There was a call from an organization that needed someone exactly like him, someone who understood courage without applause. Weeks later, he watched his daughter play in the park, her laughter bright, her trust intact. He thought about the night of the glass, about how small the act had been and how large it had felt. He understood then that being a hero was not about winning or being celebrated. It was about choosing to stand still when the world wanted you to look away. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that one voice can change the temperature of a room, please take a moment now to like the video, share it, and subscribe so these stories keep finding their way into the dark places. And just before the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel. Because somewhere tonight, another room is filling with music and laughter, another glass is being lifted without consent, and someone is wondering if it's worth the risk to speak. Let this story be the answer.